Good morning, guys. Welcome to Learn to Trade Live and Free. I think it is just me, but I might be joined by Chloe later on. Right, let's have a quick look through a few of these markets. I still probably going to be waiting for Wednesday, to be honest. Taking me a little while to get into things. We have seen the FTSE just about hold firm. I think gold is quite an interesting story. Good morning, Swee. Which we will look at in a moment, but let's just have a look through what's happened with the FTSE. Just about held at this particular point, but it looks like we've just bouncing away from that that weekly pivot as well. Managed to reject that price. Let me just bring up a futures chart as well, so I can have a look at it. Yeah, interesting. Probably got a bit to run to the upside, I would have thought. I don't think equities are all that comfortable in either direction. Certainly looking weak on the whole, and I would suspect we're probably more likely to come down than up. But it's just on top of that daily pivot, and it looks like an inverted head and shoulders here. So I guess, and in my anticipation this morning would be for this to happen. Actually, let me bring this up here. It might be there. Because that's coming off a trend line, I would expect the FTSE probably to bounce at this point, and I'd be looking really for there. So maybe bouncing between the two pivots. There is an inverted head and shoulders here as well. If there's the just about qualifies, there's the left shoulder, there's the head, and it looks to me like we could be in right shoulder area here. So the likelihood is we bounce, and that's technically that looks like what's going to happen this morning. It looks a little bit a little bit quiet. Doesn't look like we're going to get a big surge, but that's what I'd be looking for as we start. We have had some stimulus. Hey Dennis, how you doing, buddy? We have had some stimulus announced as well from the Republicans, so I think the likelihood is that we bounce here first off in the FTSE. So looking at longs intraday, between this point here, 61.25 and 61.75, there's probably a 50 pips or something like that, I would have thought, to the upside. Let's just have a look across the board at some of these others and see what else there is. Same with the S&P. I'll be looking for upside S&P. And what else? I'm just going to check some of these equities. Not such a good level here for the Nasdaq. But let's check the German economy as well. Sorry, the German market as well. Same. So I'm looking for upside in equities. Really, I think that's the most likely outcome so far this morning. It looks like we could be in for a session long. Whether that session is going to take us right into the US market, I don't know. But it looks to me like we should be looking for a point here to this area. Now let's just see what we got with the resistance zone. That would lead us up to the monthly pivot. So there could be a bit more room to the upside. It might actually take us up to here rather than just to this point here. Let's do another line here. Yeah, that looks like a likely area as well. So a bit of a pivot squeeze. Likelihood that we break down is slim, I would think. until tomorrow. I think we're probably looking at tomorrow's data before we do anything. Hey Shukri, how you doing, buddy? Got lots of questions for you, mate. My first question actually is why did Bitcoin rally so hard and nothing else did? What was so you know you can put that in the bank for later on. I want to know what's going on with Bitcoin. Didn't see Cardano getting its boots on either. That's come back a little bit, hasn't it? Yeah, Bitcoin's had a great run. Let's just have a quick look at the chart of Bitcoin. Just broke out yesterday. I was I was on the phone and I was watching this chart and it just went and went and went and I was just watching it go. Let me just bring this up on the daily. Reversing a little bit now, which is interesting, and I'll show you why it's interesting in a moment. But why I think this is quite an interesting interesting factor. But yeah, as I was talking yesterday, it was on its way, and something was causing it to rally. I get the fact that it could be just going through a load of stops, but by the same token, I would have thought those stops would have been a lot lower than when it started to move. So that one's quite interesting. And I think the other thing that's quite interesting is when we look at the dollar index here. I see us right on a primary trend line now. Just there, we're right on top of this primary trend line with the dollar index. So this suggests that that things could start to turn around in this as well. You know, do we have an inverted head and shoulders here? The package that was offered by the Republicans or that is suggested by the Republicans, is that something that could turn this dollar around? I don't know. Is that what we got going on? Don't love it. I've got to say as a pattern, and it probably isn't there, but definitely got this this trend line here. So really, that leads us into looking at the euro, maybe for some downside as well. That's on a monthly, but let's check it out on the daily. Maybe some downside finally on the euro. If you have a look at the dollar index and how it's weighted to the euro, you'll notice the euro is about 57% of the dollar index. So it's the euro really you're looking at when you're looking at the dollar index. So if the dollar index is on an area of support, it's likely the euro that would be the one that would be affected in the opposite direction. And we can see how parabolic the move has been. It's been pretty aggressively bought up. I'm not suggesting for one moment that we have a reason to go short on the euro dollar, but we certainly have a technical area to go short. And bring this to a weekly. And we got this area of resistance here. One moment. Oh, sorry, just getting the news back. Okay. Oh yeah. So then then that brings us on to gold. Then that brings us on to gold. So we got to look at the dollar index, and yeah, fascinating one on gold. Big up and down. You know, you look at this on a 4-hour chart, and it's a classic. Really, it's a classic train tracks reversal here, isn't it? Just the perfect bar combination, telling us really what investors now think of getting through 2000. There's 2000 on gold. Literally by the pip, it refused it and it's rejected it to the downside. Now this FTSE is breaking higher. I think I might take a trade on the FTSE. Let me see. I'm going to put an order in on the FTSE. See if it comes back to this point here, 61.33. I'd quite like to get here, starting to break forward. So that's going to be my target, 61.33 for an entry on the FTSE. Stop loss below. Looks like around about 61.20 something. 61.17 should be all right for a stop loss. And looking at the, probably going to look at the weekly pivot. A 61.77 for a take profit area there. So there's some levels on the FTSE that I think are tradable. So gold is coming down. Yeah, dollar is trashed. Yeah. Digital gold. Well, I think you got a case to be made there. It's the strongest all morning. I mean, you know, and this is the thing, isn't it, Dennis? Is the dollar the strongest because we've hit a significant area now, or is it more than that? You know, is that the story with the dollar? Is it just that the value can't, the market can't stomach it going any lower before we get you know, some genuine data or news out of the Fed tomorrow, and I suspect it probably is got something to do with that. That package that has been passed through, it's certainly affecting the FTSE and probably affecting all the other markets as well. Right, so we got Spanish unemployment, unemployment 15.3% versus the 16.7 expected, and the prior it's 14.4. Right, what else do we have? Europe set for higher open as vaccine hopes rise. European stocks slid back yesterday, a combination of concerns over US-China relations and a rise of coronavirus infection rates in Spain. Oh yeah, well we know about that, which prompted concerns about a second wave, helping to send down travel stocks sharply. The rising cases and subsequent quarantine is particularly bad news for Spain, which has seen its summer and tourism economy ravaged by the virus. With tourism so vital to Europe's weakest economy, there is a fear that any rebound will be so weak as to be almost unnoticeable. And the concerns about the second wave aren't merely confined to Europe, with rising cases in parts of Asia as well, notably in Hong Kong, Australia, while US cases have continued to show few signs of slowing. So we do have, I think, a bit of both. Okay, so here we go. What was this? Fed stance and conflicting commodity signals. Early indications point to a glass half full trading for the Asia Pacific markets. The weakening US dollar improves the outlook. Now this is at about 7 hours ago. This was released, but it was deemed to be major news. So let's read it. The weakening US dollar improves the outlook for regional currencies and by extrapolation local shares. Futures market indicates positive opening for the Hong Kong, Singapore, mainland China, and Australia. Nikkei futures are expected to the rule, are the exception to the rule. Mainland China, Australia, Nikkei futures are the exception to the rule. Okay, so traders anticipate the US Fed will maintain a highly accommodative stance in its meeting on Wednesday night, which should push equities higher. The consensus is for no change to current settings, but the Fed board is expected to emphasize its whatever it takes approach. This factor, combined with rising Sino tensions and accelerating COVID-19 infection rates, are weighing on the US dollar. Better than expected German business confidence data released overnight spurred the euro-US dollar cross to an 18-month high. Commodity markets are sending mixed signals. Base metals and crude oil move higher, we know that. Oh, more than 50%, 50 US stocks reported overnight. So we want to know this. Although outperformers are still the majority, interesting, around 10 stock reports significantly earning missed. Hasbro fell by 8% on lower sales due to store shutdowns globally. J&J Snack Foods rose around 1% despite their disappointing profit number, driven by 34% decline in sales. Investors are looking forward to reports from Apple, Amazon, Alphabet, and Facebook for the rest of the week. So we do have quite a few important companies due to give us a report this week now. Right. Ties are changing in anticipation for tomorrow, Dennis. I think you're right. Hey, Alan, how you doing, man? Yeah, I think you're right. I think tides are changing, or at least pausing. That's what I'm wondering. Whether is this a pause in the general direction? You know, the Fed obviously need the US government need a weak dollar, so they're probably really happy with what's been going on. They don't need to do a whole bunch, but as I said yesterday, is it having the desired effect? Is it doing the job it's meant to do? And the job it's meant to do is supply full employment. Right, FTSE's not coming back right now. Looks like a decent move up there. Let's get rid of that, and we will do that. I'll make it a level like that. Right, let's have a look at the S&P. So S&P so far underperforming. The DAX it might be underperforming somewhat as well. Hong Kong. I'm just trying to change the time frame and see if I can get a bit of a clearer picture of what's happening here. Even this has got a bit of a look of an inverted head and shoulders about it, and I wouldn't be adverse actually to go long on the FTSE to get a short in many respects. So if this option comes up, if we do manage to get a FTSE long here, let's see whether there's a chance we can go long here, keep this trade open, and go short here on the weekly pivot. That might be a decent opportunity to get a short in the market, and then we're going to have to put stops on the long. The issue might just be that it's a bit early. So it might not be ideal. Let's have a look under the hood. I'm just going to check some of these stocks out. Yeah, actually a pretty decent open right across the board. So we're definitely looking at a long. We just need a setup now. Oh, sorry, we got half the setup here. We just need it to pull back into this area here and give us a give us a price. So I'm going to get ready with this. Let's get ready to get in. Well, there doesn't seem to me like there's too much wrong here. I'm just getting everything ready. Right, I'm just going to get everything ready and just see if I can get my price point here. Actually, I wonder if I might set this one. Let's get rid of this just so we can watch the one chart there. 61.34. That's really the price I like. Right, I'll just put the order in there instead of waiting, because I like it down here. That looks pretty good to me. It might just be a little bit higher. Let me just check this. That's going to depend, isn't it? Well, depends on which period it comes down in, really. That may end up being just a little bit too strong. Let's see if we can get in. Let's see if it gives us what we need here. The first bar is pretty decent. Okay, while we wait for that price, what's everybody else looking at? What else we got? Any other trades in the room? Now, of course, we might not get the price. I'm looking at this also on a 5-minute chart here and just seeing, why is it bouncing there is the question. It's just a bit early, isn't it? A bit early for a bounce. 41 might do me though. Let's do that. That's the thing. I've got 3 accounts to try and get this on. Right, I'm just going to concentrate just for a minute, guys, and I'll be with you. But have a look. Just let me know if there's any other charts out there. Cool.
Sure.
Okay. Oh, Chloe! How you doing there?
Yeah, good, thanks. Do you want me to have a quick look around the markets while you're?
Oh, that'd be amazing. Oh, yeah, yeah. Then we'll have a catch up.
Yeah. All right then.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Screen then. Let me see what I'm doing here. I think I'm doing that. All right. Hi, folks. Me again. Back from a delightful holiday.
Nice.
And I said to Jeff last week, I said, I've chosen a bad week to go on holiday in terms of trading, because everything I've been looking at for the last few weeks just took off last week.
Yeah,
so
I had
nice time to be sitting in front of my charts. And do you know, I was really tempted to have a day of just trading instead of holiday. And I thought, no, this is the last holiday I'm getting before the little one arrives. I am having a holiday. So yeah. I didn't trade. Looking back, do I regret it?
Yes, I did.
Maybe a little bit.
I had that, Chloe, the very same thing. I was waiting for a FTSE short for quite some time, and waited, and then obviously, as you say, you know, it just kind of seems to arrive on exactly the time that that I'm not in front of it. But
yeah,
you got to. It's all balance, isn't it?
Yeah, it is all balance. And do you know what? Having been trading for 10 years, I realised that missing one move in the market is just not important in the grand scheme of things. So
yeah,
it's a little frustrating, especially as a trend trader, because we do spend a lot of time waiting for these trends to happen or waiting for the setups to happen.
Yeah.
And what is really important, I think, for everyone to grasp is, if you do miss setups, don't steam in the next week and think, oh, I missed that move, but let's see if I can squeeze a bit more out, because that is definitely the wrong thing to do.
Yeah.
So it's a new week, and there are new opportunities. I have to say, I am there are only a couple of things that I'm looking at the moment, because it is a case, I mean, most of you guys will know from me chatting to Ash the week before last, me chatting to Jeff last week, being on the Sunday show, etc. It's the Aussie pairs really that I've been really super focused on over the last well, the last couple of months really. I haven't really taken my eyes off those, and those have been the things that I've been focusing on. And those are the things, of course, that took off last week and now have come back. So I'm in a couple of trades that I have been in for a while. Aussie yen is one of them. Aussie dollar, I'm in two different trades on Aussie dollar. What I would usually do though is I would usually scale in along the way. So Aussie dollar, I've scaled in once on the daily time frame, but I haven't actually, because I wasn't trading last week, I didn't get my chance to scale in on the lower time frame, which would have just given me that really nice high reward to risk opportunity that I could have just been in and then out and taken profit. That would have been really nice to come home to. But the end result is that I am still bullish actually at the moment on these Aussie pairs, and it kind of comes and goes, because what I definitely don't want to do, and what I don't want to encourage anyone else to do, is jump in after a move has already been missed. But at the same time, just because that move has happened doesn't mean I'm automatically thinking, right, that's done, I'm now going short. That's definitely not my trading style. So I am still looking for potential long opportunities if they arise. What I'm saying is, who knows if they are going to arise. The reason I say that is because, for example, on Aussie dollar, I do actually have a horizontal level here. We've got support from back at end of 2015, beginning of 2016, support over here. It's been resistance from 2018, and we've just reached that level. So it is a potential area that price could turn around. The fact that this run up last week ended at that level is an indication to me that the sellers are aware that, you know, the buyers are aware and they're taking profits here. The sellers are aware and they're coming into the markets here. So to trade through that level is going to be a little bit foolish.
Sorry, Chloe, just one thing. Alan,
No,
yes,
no
I
worries.
have entered the FTSE trade. I'm going to get in a little bit earlier because I'm just it may not come down to the pip exactly, but I wanted to put that order in to give me some time with my other two accounts. But yeah, I have entered long. Sorry, Chloe.
No worries, Ash. No worries at all. So basically, what it means for me on Aussie dollar is if price comes back, no problem at all. But this is the level that I'm now looking at. If price goes through this level, then I'm going to be looking for more longs. And it will likely be on a lower time frame because daily right now, cyclicity isn't with us. I would need a retracement. So this is the level that I'm now looking at. If price goes through, I'll look for opportunities. If price doesn't and it comes back, no problem at all. I will just sit on my hands and wait for something else to happen. So at the moment, I've got the daily pivot. I could find an entry at the daily pivot. There isn't really a time frame that's giving me a fantastic opportunity there, to be honest with you, because of the strength of that retracement. We've seen that retracement today across all things. Ash was all previously looking at gold. We've had that train track reversal on gold. So pretty much all the things that took off last week have shown a bit of a slowdown.
Yeah, I mean, does that where does that lead us from here, Chloe? Does that mean we look for a reversal from here, or do we need a bit more in the way of information?
To be honest, Ash, I mean, in terms of my technicals here, I'm still looking for longs until I get a technical reason not to.
Yeah.
The only technical reason I've got not to is this horizontal level I've got marked in at the top here in blue. It's around 71.50, 71.60, something like that. That's the only technical reason. So if price goes through there, then I'm still looking for longs. If not, I'm just going to wait because I've got nothing yet telling me to short, apart from that I do look at seasonals as well, quite a lot in my trading, and quite a lot, especially on Aussie and Kiwi pairs. I do find that works out quite well. And the seasonals on those are actually towards the end of July, suggesting downside. So that's something that will have an impact on my trading, where, to be honest, that's the only thing actually that I will look at that will completely change my opinion of a market despite the technicals. I still go with the technical setups. I'm not going to press sell right now just because the seasonals are changing, but I will cool off on my long trades. These two Aussie trades I'm already in, I have already scaled out anyway. So, at some point when the technicals start to agree with those seasonals, I'll close the long trades. And once I then get a technical reason to do so, I will start looking for potential shorts. But it's led by the technicals. The seasonals are just a kind of heads up for me. Both things have to agree. I can't just do one over the other.
So are you what's the seasonal situation with gold here? Because obviously gold it's just been on a tear and
with gold, do you know what? I haven't looked at gold today on the seasonals. Let me just have a quick look. All right, let's see what gold is saying on the seasonals, because what I would say with gold is pretty much the same thing. So on gold, let's just get the gold chart up. For me, in terms of the technicals, it is pretty clear. So, we've been looking for longs on gold. Ainsley has been talking about long gold up to 2000 for a long, long time now. And she's been in a lot of trades to the upside on gold. So we've been talking about gold for a long time. It has taken off, and last week was just rally after rally after rally without pause. It now looks like price is pulling back. As you mentioned, we've got that train track reversal on the 4 hourly there. So price is pulling back. The question is, where is it going to pull back to? Because this doesn't mean that price is going to change trend. That's what that's one of the things that I find myself explaining to people an awful lot, is just because price is heading down here doesn't mean it's going to start a downtrend. It just means that it needs to pull back. These the people who have been trading long here need to take their profits. The people who are perhaps bearish or shorter term traders need to get into the market to take that swing back down, which will kind of perpetuate the move. But at some point, it's going to hit support. Now, where I am looking at is pretty much around this area, to be honest with you. But anywhere above that as well, we've got the weekly pivot here, which could be tested this week, and then that may give us long opportunities. And I would say that because of the strength of this move and the strength of the rejection, as you said, Ash, of that 2000 level, I would say that perhaps it's going to retrace, perhaps it's going to rebound back up and then form a lower high. And that's when I would be thinking, hang on a minute, maybe gold is running out of steam. But until I get that lower high, I've got no real indication of price actually coming down a significant amount. So
and I guess the thing with gold as well is that as we head into the meeting tomorrow, I looked at the dollar just right across the board, and it's definitely on an area of support now. And I guess gold is just something else that is likely to just pull back while we head into such a significant meeting. I mean, maybe there's no major surprise that is expected tomorrow, but I guess you just never know. And if you've got into gold at any point, in this run, if you got in, down there at 1200, then to come out at 2000 just before a Fed meeting would seem pretty wise to me, because you're probably going to get a slightly better price.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess that does explain the situation there with gold a bit more. But like you, I mean I looked at the 4 hour, and the 4 hour looked pretty significant. The 2 bars on the 4 hour with gold look pretty significant, but but like you, it doesn't suggest that gold all of a sudden reverses. It just suggests that a pullback is probably on the cards at this point. So
yeah, I'm just getting this blank chart up just to show everyone how important it is to, no matter what time frame you're trading, go back to the highest time frame, especially with these things that have never been higher than this. So some of the stock indices, the Nasdaq, the S&P, things like that. Go back onto the monthly time frame if you can't see anything on daily or weekly, just to make sure that you've got, because price does react at these levels. That that's the all-time high around there, and this was a real turning point for gold. It spent ages heading up. It hit the all-time high, it came back, and then it hit this level, and this was the start then of this whole downtrend, this whole period of pretty much range that we've seen for the next almost 10 years really. So those levels are important. So if we then go to the daily, that's why I've got those levels in on my chart. Price could just come back down to here, the previous all-time high, and head off from there. So that's something that I'm going to be aware of. Alternatively, this is a level as well. This is a level of support. Even if it takes the next month to get down to here, I would still be looking out at this level and perhaps expecting or anticipating a reaction here. So it also gives us a roadmap. So if price comes back down below here, then yeah, I probably would go to my lower timeframes and look for potential short trades there. Obviously, depending on the indicators that I use for my strategy, I will only enter on my strategy, but it does give us a little bit of a roadmap. If we just go back, look at those levels and think, what is going to be happening at those levels? This is where the sellers have come into the market previously. So this is where there is likely to be a reaction in the future. But yeah, that does look pretty bearish at the moment. And I don't think I'm going to be finding a long entry really anytime soon.
Yeah, I think we got to wait for tomorrow minimum, haven't we? And then see what the next driver is going to be with gold. But yeah, as you say, to go short would probably be even more dangerous. I mean, if you had to do something, you'd probably have to go long. But that's the great thing. We don't have to do anything, and we can just look for something else.
Yeah, and I always described myself as a pretty cautious trader, until Paul told me otherwise. And he actually considers me to be quite an aggressive trader. What it is I'm aggressive with my strategy, but I'm cautious with everything else other than my strategy. So that's why I'm not looking to jump into gold to the downside right now, because it's not my strategy. I can see it's going down. Everyone can see it's going down. But in terms of my strategy, I just haven't got a setup here. I can see, in retrospect, I can see, oh, there was a level there at the monthly R3 there. And if I had traded a breakout, I would have made some profit maybe, but it's not my strategy. So I'm just sitting well out of it. The only thing that would make me trade this would be if I start to see cyclicity beneath this daily pivot, and I can see a logical area for price to come down to next would perhaps be the weekly pivot down here, because it hasn't even been tested this week. Then I could perhaps pick up something on the way down there. But right now it's just, crashing down. It's not giving me any real cyclicity. It's not giving me any real price action that I can usefully trade. So that's what's going on with gold for me. I've just got to wait, and it's going to be the weekly pivot down here that I'll be looking at, or it will be, this is pretty much my next horizontal level that I'm looking out for.
So that's the situation with gold. You're obviously short on the Aussie and the Kiwi, is that right? Or you'd be looking for shorts with those two?
Well, the Kiwi I am actually more bearish. The Aussie I'm still remaining bullish at the moment. And again, it's the same reason, Ash. Just because I can see price coming down doesn't mean that I've got a strategy set up here. So I've just got to be patient and wait. And this is why I said, I knew, and I said to Jeff at the beginning of last week, I know I've chosen a bad week to go on holiday. This is what I've been waiting for all month. But that's it. I missed it, and nothing I can do about it now. So to be honest with you, I see this week as being a pretty quiet week. There are a couple of things that I am keen on looking out for. So I've got EuroCAD here, which it's broken out of a resistance area that I had, but it hasn't overextended to quite such an extent. So that's something that I will look at to the long side. And even more so, I suppose my favorite thing to look at the moment, perhaps, is Euro Kiwi, because Euro is so strong and Kiwi is tailing off from its upward move. So
yeah, Euro is strong, isn't it? I mean, the discussion between the EU leaders seems to be the boost that it needed, and it really has been on a bit of a tear. And this is a question really for for every trader. And you being more of a currency trader, certainly than I am, and looking at more currency charts. If you see something released about a currency like the euro, and then you see the reaction of the investors and traders buying the euro up against the dollar, but it's not really stretched across the board. You don't see that a similar move against something like the Kiwi. Does it lead you to believe that you still have time to get a euro trade on, but with something else? Or do you just think that actually there's something fundamentally different about the Kiwi, so it's got to be treated separately?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of both, Ash. I do treat them separately because for me, the technicals lead everything else.
Yeah.
But what I'm looking at here is the fact that the euro, I can't get into the euro because it's gone. That that I'm going to be waiting at least a week before I see a daily trade on the euro. Maybe less time on the lower time frames, but for me, really, that is overextended. We've reached the monthly R2, we've reached the monthly R3. In terms of just measuring a previous move, we've got the move from the bottom to the top there, 600 odd pips. We've got the move from the bottom to the top here, 600 odd pips. So, that move for me happened last week, right at the beginning of last week. We took out this previous high here. We had a little bit of time to get in around here and then off it went. Now getting in here is just so much more of a low probability that price is going to continue. It might still continue, and this is what happened with the Aussie dollar. Everyone thought the move of the Aussie dollar was over here, but it just took a little bit of patience. We had to wait a month, but it then took off again, and that could happen on the euro as well. But if we start looking for longs here, there is a low probability that it will continue, rather than getting in when it's not overextended, where there's a high probability it will continue. So looking at where was our Euro Kiwi, it's not overextended from anything. And what we've actually got technically is we've got this area that I've been looking at here, which has been resistance from the end of 2019. It's then become support just about over here. It's been resistance again 2020. So that area there is strong for me. And so that's the area I was looking out for, alongside the bundle of moving averages that I've got here and these pivots. The monthly pivot isn't far off. So I've been looking for a while for a breakthrough. The fact that coincides with the fact that we're seeing euro strength isn't really surprising, because breaking through a strong level generally tends to need something to shove price through there and get price through there. But what it means is it does give me options, because now the next level I've got is a little way away, so I can trade up to there. Yes, there is some other resistance in the way, so perhaps I'm going to have to reduce my risk, or do what I have been doing since this COVID crisis started, which is just being a lot more conservative with my targets, going for shorter targets and scaling out early.
Yeah, well, do you know what? I think that that is it's almost a whole discussion on its own, isn't it? So because while we're looking for setups, we do something that we do the same each time. No matter what the situation, in a way, we look for specific setups. But actually taking profit, as you say, it does change per situation. And I think that's a really interesting point you've really touched on, because so now because of the situation with COVID, you're much more likely to take profit. And now, is that because you see a turnaround more aggressive, or do you see the market not able to choose a direction?
What it is, Ash, is I've just noticed in my trading over the last, the first couple of months of the COVID crisis, I've just noticed the market choose a direction. And I thought, oh, brilliant, this is what I've been waiting for. I've got in, and then the direction has either stalled or changed. It doesn't carry on. It doesn't seem to me like it carries on for as long as it usually would. Because there are so many other things influencing the market at the moment. And So what I've found is I've just been, even though it's not my usual style of trading, because with my trading, I'm always aiming for high reward to risk. I'm never aiming for a 1-to-1 reward to risk or lower than that, or really 2-to-1 even. I'm always aiming, I always want to get a 5-to-1 or a 10-to-1. So it's really against my style of trading, but
Yeah.
there's no point sticking with the same style of trading when you can see it's not working. And me
Yeah.
trying to go for a 10-to-1 here is not going to work, I can tell you now. Whereas
Yeah.
me perhaps going for a 1-to-1 and scaling out to make the trade break even, then
Yeah.
whatever happens from there doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me at all. It could go 10-to-1, it could go 4-to-1, it could go just another 2-to-1, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But really my priority at the moment is making every trade safe as soon as I possibly can. So
That's
you'll notice
interesting.
with, yeah,
You know, I've got Alexis in the room, and she's saying the same thing. And I've noticed the same thing too. You know, I think the time horizon has had to change recently because of that the very thing you're talking about. And I suppose it is deciphering how you're going to manage that scenario. So you like to take it out now at a 1-to-1 and let something run, but I suppose you could take off. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what. There's probably a number of different methods. I suppose you could go down to a shorter time frame and stick the stops up a bit higher or something like that. There's that as an option as well.
yeah, that tends to be. I mean, sometimes I'll just keep it on the same time frame. Sometimes I will go to a lower time frame, but the key thing for me is to make my trade safe,
Yeah.
because this here I'm looking for a long trade here. So what time frame am I looking at it on? Well, I was looking at it on the hourly. Now I'm going to have to wait for a retracement in order to get that opportunity in. But I will literally pick the next obvious level of resistance. If that's a 1-to-1, fine. If it's a 1 and a bit to 1, fine. I'll pick the next obvious level of resistance and scale out whatever it takes to make that trade safe, whether it's half or a quarter or whatever it takes to make that trade safe. And then I'll leave the rest according to the strategy. But it's likely that I will come out of the trade a bit earlier than I would for the full profit anyway.
I really like that.
I've just found that holding trades like I usually do hasn't done me any favors over this last few months.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I mean, I really like that because
yeah.
really this is about making money, and it doesn't matter how much you make, on a single trade. It's the accumulative effect, isn't it? So Alexis is saying that she takes profit earlier, moves stops to previous swing instead of the bottom of the candle on a lower time frame to prevent being taken out on the swings.
Perfect, exactly. So Euro Kiwi, I'm looking out on the lower time frames. I'm also looking on the daily for a pullback. If price can pull back to this horizontal level here, then I'd be looking to take a trade from here up to that next horizontal level, which again is a much shorter reward to risk than I would usually aim for. But this one that has gone a million miles is gone. So I've got no opportunity there. I'm going to have to look for something that maybe has a shorter reward to risk, but at least I've got a chance of it going in my direction for long enough to get the trade safe and then to get a bit of profit out of the market. The important thing is, I suppose, that if you are going to change your strategy to match the markets, just make sure you document it. Because at some point, these markets are going to return to normal and the trends are going to trend properly. And if you're taking short profits on trending markets with a trending strategy, you're really missing the point of being a trend trader.
Yeah.
So I'm trading like this for now, but really I'm super looking forward to the markets just getting back to normal and just running for a bit.
I think that's absolutely right. And as you say, they will turn to normal at some point. And it's interesting because I'm watching stocks, and I'm looking at stocks, and this is what I was talking about to Ainsley yesterday. There's a couple of stocks I really like. I really like Ocado for a short, because I think that there could well be a turnaround eventually when we get through this particular period. I think Ocado won't be quite as used as it is. And I really like EasyJet for a long, but it's way too early. We got sort of further lockdowns in Spain and quarantines going on in Spain. And really, my question it really was, and maybe it's something that you could shed some light on as well if you got an opinion on it, is what is the transition? What we know that the two extremes are during this particular period. Everybody's buying Netflix, buying Zoom, buying Ocado, selling EasyJet, buying gold and anything that's related to it. And then when things turn around again, the opposite will happen. But what's the transition? What do we look for during the transition? What are the kind of the plays that get us through the two phases? I mean, I've now started to look at things like Halfords, because I think that certainly in this country there seems to be much more announcement about obesity. There seems to be a real focus on obesity.
Right. Yeah,
it's quite interesting. I mean, I mean, I don't know how far they'll go with it, but they seem to be, quite heavily focused on the fact that that those with those that are obese are much more affected by COVID. So there seems to be a big push, and I have to say, in Brighton, there's quite a lot going on with the bike lanes. So where before they would just paint a strip on the road and say, "There's your bike lane," now they're putting bollards up. So cyclists are that little bit safer when they're out on the open road. And it kind of brings me to things like Halfords. I mean, I'll have to check the balance sheet in a bit more detail. I had a quick look before we came on air, but it leads me to something like Halfords, because I would have thought that and also because the government have announced that they are going to give everybody £50 to fix their bike up. So I think we could look at some of those potential stocks for possibly a little bit of transition between the two phases that we've got. But I don't know if you feel the same about that, Chloe. And also, is there a currency equivalent that we should look for? Is there a transition currency? I was wondering whether it's the pound, but I didn't really have a sound enough argument to convince myself that was the case.
Yeah, my question is, Ash, are we going to now see more deaths of cyclists on the road than we do of COVID?
Well, but this is the point. You see, in Brighton, and I don't know whether they'll do this throughout the country. In Brighton, they're making it safer by putting they're actually cordoning off the bike lanes. So whereas before it was just they were just painting the road and saying, "There you go," they're not doing that now. I mean, obviously they've still got to cross certain points where there will be cars, but they are making bike lanes a lot safer around here by putting these, defining where the bike lane is, and then putting the bollards to make sure that they the cyclists are cordoned off from the road.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's always a danger of that, and I suppose just down to numbers alone, there probably will be. But by the same token, it certainly seems that the push is to get the people back outdoors again and getting everybody exercising again, and there seems to be a push for cycling.
That will help with. It's everything: heart disease, obesity.
Yeah.
Everything else, all the other deaths linked to obesity.
Yes. Yes.
Which are massive. So it's long overdue, in my opinion. Although I do not own a bike and I do not cycle around London, because I'm sure I would die very, very quickly.
Yeah.
In fact, you and I have been cycling around London.
Yeah, it wasn't. But probably not the sort of thing I do now. Even though that was quite early in the morning. I think it was about 5 in the morning, so we were all right.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Lewis asking, do you think that the UK 100 will test 6,000? Yeah, I do. I mean, I think when it comes down, I'll just grab the screen back just for the end here, Chloe. I do think we probably will see 6,000. Now, I have got a trade on, which I'm just going to remove the the lines just so we can have a look through the the charts without distraction. Oh gosh. All right, there you go. So 6,000 is going to be, oh yeah, I mean, it's, I think if there was ever something as close to a sure thing as you're going to get, it's going to be the fact that the FTSE will get to 6,000, probably in this particular period. It's pretty weak, isn't it? You know, and right across the board, we're pretty weak, and it does seem like the problems right now are mounting rather than disappearing. And dissipating. So to get to 6,000 would just keep us within this range here. It's not even a break. It wouldn't even constitute a breakdown in the market to get down to 6,000. So yes, I do, mate. I don't think there's any trouble of us getting down to 6,000. And actually, it's a good question because really what Chloe and Alexis are talking about how things are just turning around on them. The only way to fix that, well, there's two ways you fix it. You take profit earlier, as Chloe's saying, and maybe move those stops a bit higher, as Alexis pointed out, or you increase your time horizon and wait for the moves to play out in a longer way. So I like that as a question, because really what you're saying is from here, I guess, well, that's what you're saying. From here, does it go to 6,000? And if that's the case, if it's going to go from here to 6,000, then you can start looking at the broader pattern, which is probably something like that, and maybe something like that. So then that means you've got a different place to put a stop. You know, a stop above, aiming down here. If you're going to get in down here, you got 120 pips of room, which sounds like a lot until you have to figure out where to put the stop. And the stop can't go here and here if we've decided that the type of market we have is just not that accommodative for a deep move straight away. So we're going to have to let these play out a little bit more. So you're talking about stops up beyond where the take profit area is, or maybe just shy here if it was above the monthly pivot. So if you want to go short, if it's a short that you're looking for here, I would suggest either waiting for it to pop up so you can have that, more of a shallow stop, which is really what we're after here. A pop up in the market, give us a really obvious price point, weekly pivot, monthly pivot, horizontal level, trend line, something like that. And then everybody's looking for a short. And if you've got a long, if you've taken this long that I've taken, which may or may not work out, then you can obviously trade it in a different way. You can take your long, as long as it doesn't get taken out. If it pops up, then you can take your short and leave your long in the market and just put the stops to break even on the long. So that's what I'd quite like. I would like a short here with a FTSE, but let's see if we can get a freebie. It may not happen, but let's see if we can. Might be weekly pivot again, and you're looking at the same sort of places: weekly pivot, trend line, horizontal level, something like that. So the first hour is done, and it looks like the market it's not too happy right now. Now it doesn't mean anything when a bar looks like this in an area like this, except for the area does not the move at this particular stage does not fill investors with enough confidence. So we can take really this bar here as a bit of a message of the overall picture of the area, rather than just this particular price. I mean, I know that there's a neckline there, right along there, that it probably needs to break through now to get us higher. But the point is that this bar doesn't act in the same way that a bar of similar kind of anatomy up here. So we have this bar here, which is very, very similar looking, but it doesn't react. It doesn't act in the same way, because this one is kind of searching out a high point here, whereas this one is nowhere near this high, and it's nowhere near this high. So so it does tell us that the area you know, has got some weakness, but there's still a pretty good chance that we go back up here again, and then back down there again, and then back up there again, and then back down there again. So we don't really know what's going to happen just from that one bar. Should we enter long? There's not really a should be Sino, because the question you've always got to ask yourself is there enough there for me to enter long? You know, it's not really for me to say whether you should do one thing or another. All I can tell you is that the market doesn't look too bad. That's that's about as much as I've got, really. I don't know what's going to happen from here on in. We know the overall picture is short, so whether you should enter long is an impossible question to answer. But I can tell you that the market doesn't look too bad. Is it likely to break down here? Probably not, and that's why I think that the long is maybe an opportunity to make some money, but that's as far as it goes. Right, anyway, I think we are probably done. I want to thank you, Chloe.
No worries, Ash. Always a pleasure to be in with you.
Oh yeah, well we'll be back
pretty
tomorrow.
Much the only thing I'll drag myself out of bed for these days.
Oh well, you've got to get on the you've got to get on my quiz game that I sent you.
Oh, you sent me a quiz game.
I did.
Oh right, all right. I'll get on
that then. Yeah. I'm waiting for your turn. I've done my bit, so I'm waiting.
Okay. I'll get on that right away.
Yeah. Okay, so we got Shukri today is going to talk about why Ash will still want to buy Cardano at 50% higher and not sell, even if, oh gosh, that sounds interesting, even if it falls 30%. Okay, mate, I am in on that. I believe that the first phase of the transition went through yesterday, right, for the decentralization, or was it not the first phase? That was the last chance they had to turn back. Is that right? Am I right on that? I think I am. I'm pretty sure Cardano is making some moves. Alan's looking forward to Shukri's presentation. We've got Shukri is a bit of a crypto expert, Chloe, and he's educating us in what we should be looking at and how we should be playing this the crypto market. So
right.
I've been looking at this cryptocurrency called Cardano, which I loved, and I got it at 8 cents. It was at 8 cents per dollar, and it came down and stopped me out, and it's now at 14 cents a dollar. So I've been kicking myself ever since. And Shukri's telling me that I'll still want to get in, even though it's up double. So I'm anticipating what's going to be said there.
Fair enough.
So yeah, if it's a different game, no stop loss. Yeah, which is hairy stuff, but I reckon there's a way around it. Okay, well, thanks so much, Chloe. I'll see you tomorrow. And as I say,
see you tomorrow.
You have any problems with getting into any questions on the game, let me know.
All right then.
I'll pass something later. Alan, we'll talk about that later. Shukri's the man to answer that, but we will talk about that all later on. I can take a position in Cardano with my broker. But yeah, we'll talk about some of the other options later on. All right, fantastic. Thank you, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Same trade time, same trade channel. See you tomorrow, Chloe.
See you tomorrow.
And Shukri,
bye, guys.
I will see you later.